welcome our next speaker, Kristyn Smith. Read a little bit about her. So she is the Chief of Staff at Tobyhanna Army Depot. In this position since 2021, she serves as the Senior Advisor to the Commanding Officer and Deputy Commander. During her career, she's held leadership positions at the depot overseeing acquisition transitions to sustainment and served as the Principal Communications Advisor to the Commander at the depot's communications strategy. A former employee of the Scranton Chamber of Commerce, Smith continues to support various community organizations, including Leadership Lackawanna. Her awards and decorations include the Army Superior Civilian Service Award, Army Commander's Award for Civilian Service, and Tobyhanna Army Depot Supervisor of the Quarter. She earned both a bachelor's and master's degree at Wilkes University, and in 2020, she achieved Level 2 certification in Life Cycle Logistics from Defense Acquisition University. She also studied leadership decision-making and negotiation strategy at the Harvard Kennedy School Executive Education Program. In 2021, Smith completed Institute for Defense and Business Aviation and Industrial Readiness Programs, Lean Six Sigma Executive Champion Certification, training at North Carolina State University. So with that, let's welcome Kristyn to the stage.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that introduction, Lindsay. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to start off this afternoon really by thanking the Chamber for this opportunity to be here to speak to all of you, but also for them putting together this event. I think this is an awesome event. Might be a little biased for the fact that the Chamber is where I did start my career, but always appreciate the fact that they didn't forget me and they gave me this opportunity to come back and to share a little bit with you today. So, finding purpose through your values. So Mari contacted me, Mari and Chris, back in December, said, hey, Kristyn, what are you doing August 25th? I don't know, nothing. Can you put it on the calendar? You're gonna come and speak for Empower. I said, all right, what's the topic? Purpose. Just put something together on purpose and we'll be good. We'll talk to you in a couple months. So got off the phone and I thought to myself, purpose. I don't know. I struggle with that every day, right? Have we ever really achieved our purpose? And I just sat in Jenna Urban's presentation and we talk about purpose as if it's a destination, right? And I think that's something that we all tend to think about when we think of purpose. And really it is, it's the journey. And the journey is beautiful and confusing and challenging and leaves us perplexed sometimes if we are living our purpose. And so, again, the thought I gave to all of this, I thought there's a couple things that come to mind for me when I think of purpose. Impulsively, my first thought is those two little humans there that you see up on the screen. So those are my kids. Clarissa is 10, Lance is 7. So how many of you in the room, as soon as you say, what's your purpose, automatically think my children, my significant other, my friends, my family, all these other people who rely on us, right? And hearing our breakfast keynote speaker this morning, Dr. Hazuri, talking about how we often feel that our sense of purpose is being something to someone else versus looking inward. So when I impulsively thought that, I thought, all right, maybe you guys don't want to hear me talk about Clarissa and Lance for 45 minutes, although I would love to talk about them for 45 minutes. Second thing, though, that I thought of, and you'll see the photographs up there. So coaching my children. I coach their basketball, baseball, t-ball, all of that, love that. So just as much as I love coaching in a leadership role, I love coaching my children's sports teams. So you'll see me there, again, coaching their basketball this last season. And as I put these pictures up, I stopped and thought to myself, as I reflect back to my childhood, as far back as I can remember, when is the first time I have felt a sense of purpose? And I thought to myself, it's probably back when I played sports, that I could say I felt I had a purpose, I had a responsibility, I had a role, I had a contribution to something, okay? So playing sports, how many in the room, just curious, are sports the first thing that maybe comes to your mind when you say you feel a sense of purpose, right? We're working towards a common goal. Each person has a role in that process. And I think, just using that reflection back to playing sports, again, I think back, I really do reflect back on playing sports as a kid really every day in my formal leadership role, because it's not about me as the leader. It's about our team, and it's about everybody's individual roles. So again, those were the two times that I really thought, okay, that's where I felt a sense of purpose. Again, you probably don't want to hear me talk about all the sports I played and teams I coached. Again, I'd love to talk about that. But I want to get to something just a little bit deeper in my presentation. So as a leader, I've been in formal leadership role probably since 2017 at Toby Hanna. And I've struggled many times in that role with feeling, do I really feel a sense of purpose? Am I true to myself? Am I doing what I love? And one of the ways that I've always gotten back to that reassurance that I am where I'm supposed to be is by relying on my values. And this morning, we heard Dr. Hazori talk a lot about, of course, we know finding our purpose starts with you, right? And she did talk a lot about how that has to do with being true to ourselves, living with integrity, being consistent with our values. That is our character. So to me, that is the foundation of finding your purpose. So I'm going to go through just to baseline our presentation. We have heard about purpose all day long, right? And so these are just some multiple definitions that are out there on purpose, but I underlined just a couple of key words that I thought really resonated with me when I think of purpose, and I hope that they resonate with each one of you. So again, it's our reason. It's why something's done or created or why something exists. It has to do with intention, okay? Meaningful, leaving a positive mark on the world. These are these big things, grandiose things that we sometimes think that purpose has to be, and it doesn't necessarily. This next definition, you'll see it's values that will determine your priorities and guide your actions. So again, I'm going to go back to how do we baseline, how do we set the foundation for getting ourselves to a point where we feel like we're living a sense of purpose. And I'm really going to focus a lot on that value piece. A sense of direction and meaning. My personal favorite, doing what you love. So I showed you a photo of my kids. Love my kids, so check the box. I know that's my sense of purpose. Love playing sports, love coaching sports. Check the box there. What do I wake up and do every day, and how do I get to serve Toby Hanna Army Depot, the employees there, and the mission of the depot? I can say wholeheartedly and honestly, I love that. Okay, I know. But again, it's been a journey getting there. It is not something that I have always felt. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as I go through the presentation here. And then another personal favorite of mine, the fusion of art, nature, and or sense of connection beyond the self. So sense of connection. We're going to talk about that as well, particularly that piece of connection and how important that is as a leader, whether formal or informal, how we create that sense of connection and achieving that sense of purpose both personally and professionally. And what are our values? So I'll go through these rather quickly as well, but it's standards or behavior, what we think is important, not what others tell us is important, okay? So keep that in mind. Determining your priorities, again, your own personal priorities, importance, worth, or usefulness of something, and a judgment of what is important in life. And having a high opinion of. So, let's go through some values here. So I believe there's handouts that we're coming around to all of you, and we're going to go through a little bit of an exercise in just a moment. But as we look at values, the list is incredibly long, right? I think you all have a list of probably about 130 values I think I managed to pull out there for you. You're going to see, though, some of these are very synonymous with others. Power, respect, love, faith, authenticity, home, career, growth, courage, trust, humor, family. All right, so I'd like it if we could go ahead and we're going to take those pieces of paper. And this exercise, really, I just want you to all know right up front, I'm sharing this with you. I've done this exercise many times before. I've done them in training classes. I've actually done them with my partner, with my significant other, right? A great way to really get each other vulnerable and have a vulnerable conversation, which we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of that. So this is a great exercise to do, whether you're going to do this professionally or personally. So, if you would, out of those 130 values that you see listed before you, if everybody can take just a few moments, I want you to go ahead and go through the sheet and start by underlining, I say 20 values, maybe 15 to 20 values that are important to you. Again, you personally, not what you believe someone may think your values should be, not what your organization thinks are important values, but you, deep down inside you, that is absolutely critically important for you to live these values every single day. Everybody rummaging for pens. Is everybody good? Don't worry if you have more than 20. It just is probably going to make step 2 and step 3 of this exercise a little bit more difficult, but that's okay. All right, once you have your 20 values underlined, of those that are underlined, I need you to get that list of 20 down to 10. So circle it, circle, start, again, just do something that makes sure that they stand out for you. Again, I know this is tough, but try and get that down to 10. All right, this next part, you're going to say, Kristyn, are you crazy? Here we go. Take those 10 and no more than your top 3. What are your top 3 values that are most important to you that you want to make sure that you are living every single day? And again, give them a star or an extra circle or however you want to have it so that those stand out to you. So once you got down to 10, bring it down to 3. All right, does everybody feel like they've got it down to 3? Getting some head nods, we're good? All right, so the next part, I'm gonna ask everybody now to stand up. And I'd like for you to get with a neighbor. Now, before I say get with a neighbor and do this though, Those of you who know me, many of you from Toby Hannah who are in the room, you know how I love to make people feel uncomfortable, right? And why is that? When we're uncomfortable, we're growing, right? And so why did all of you come here today? You all came here to network, to learn something new about somebody else that maybe you haven't talked to today, right? To build a network, right? So I'd ask if you would get up. Please find someone in the room you have not talked to today. If it still is somebody from your organization, that's fine. Maybe it's somebody, though, that you don't necessarily know that well, and that's fine as well, too. So if you would, go and buddy up. And if you want to do this as a group of 3 or 4, that's fine as well, all right? And what I'd like for all of you to do is have a conversation about those 3 values. Why are they important to you? Okay, and I know that this might be hard to do, especially with a stranger, right? I'm asking you to be a little bit vulnerable. But part of this process is, again, discovering who we are and what's really important to us, and really asking ourselves, are we living these values every day? Is it something that we're demonstrating with our families, demonstrating with our coworkers, with our friends, okay? So have that conversation quick. I'll give you all just about 5 minutes just to have that conversation. ladies, gentlemen? We could go ahead and wrap it up. All right, everyone. I love hearing all the conversation. This is good. But I do want to be timely. So I loved hearing that conversation. That was awesome. So show of hands, who learned something new about somebody else in the room? Good. Okay. Who learned something new about themselves? We feel like we dug a little bit deeper maybe than we normally would have when we think about values? A little bit? Okay, all right. Do we feel a little bit of maybe building a relationship there by having that conversation? Sense of connection? Okay. Just out of curiosity, who had maybe values listed that were different, but once you sat and started talking through them, you realized they meant they were synonymous, right? That they started to mean the same thing. Anybody had that experience? Sure. Okay. All right. Any specific examples of that? Anybody wants to share? Go ahead.
The one we were talking about was health. We weren't sure if it was our own health or the health of our parents or our children, and just, where should we, put that in terms of priorities.
Okay. All right.
Ourselves or others that we care for.
Okay. Good. Very good. Any others that they care to share? No? Oh, go ahead.
I mentioned authenticity. I feel like that kind of encompasses a whole bunch of them, like honesty, growth. I don't know, a whole bunch of them.
Sure.
Lumps it all together.
Sure, it does. I think oftentimes when people do this, honesty might be important to you, and honesty can mean the same thing synonymously with trust, integrity, respect, right? All of that, authenticity. So that's good. All right. Anybody else care to share? Yes.
When we were talking about it, it's like we felt like we had different sets of values for the personal life versus the work life,
Yes.
So you had 3 for your personal life or 3 for your professional life. So
Okay. So by doing it that way, I'm curious. So when we say that something's important to us personally, do we see that those professional values, there's still a relation between them though, right? Okay. So we may just pick a different word, but again, we see the similarities. So that's good. Okay. Great. All right. So those copies of those, there's plenty of extra copies, I believe, that we have up front, right, Lindsay? Okay. So if anybody wants to grab copies of those, take them, steal them, use them with your teams. Again, go home, use them with your significant other. It's a way to have a really deep talk over a glass of wine. Again, I think at the end of the day, having that conversation about values brings you to what's most important, which is connection. So if anybody's curious, these are my values. Faith, family, freedom. I always say faith. I connect that a lot to my spirituality. By grounding myself with my faith, I find that that's one way for me to not get lost in the chaos, right? How many times do we feel that we're always trying to control all the things all around us? I feel like especially as moms, as leaders, we do that all the time. And sometimes you just got to let go and be like, you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be, right? So for me, that's why faith is important. Family I have up there, of course, you saw the photos of my children. But family, I also relate to my work family. We spend 40 plus hours a week with the people we work with, right? They are very important to me. I want to get to know them. I don't just want to go to work and get the job done and leave. It's about creating that bond and connection there. So my work family, my blood family, my friends, all of that is all encompassing to one of my values. And then freedom. So freedom in the sense that I'm going to say, I think as women, is something that I really value. Just the fact that I'm in a leadership position every day. I'm empowered to make decisions. I consider that part of my freedom. Being a woman and the rights that we have and appreciating them. That is something not a lot of other cultures in this world get every day. So it is something that I also value. And then freedom, I also tie that, of course, to my connectedness of the mission of my organization and what we do every day at Toby Hanna Army Depot, okay? So let's tie a lot of this back to leadership. So we're here on the leadership track. Let's talk a little bit about purpose-driven leadership and how, starting with our values, we can achieve a lot more when it comes to our professional goals or our organizational goals. So just by doing that exercise right there, that sense of connection. Connection is so important and so vital to us as leaders, okay? You need to get to know your people. We hear that said day in and day out, right? What does that connection lead to? It's an opportunity for trust, right? Do you trust me?
Not yet.
Perfect. I was curious. I didn't know if somebody was going to be really kind, right? But right, how do I trust you if I don't know you, right? If I haven't even had a chance to build a relationship with you, to build a connection with you, okay? So as a leader, if I don't get to know the people that I lead every day, there is no opportunity for trust, okay? Without trust, I don't have a relationship with them. Without relationship, how am I going to motivate them? Right? What's the incentive for somebody to believe in what I'm telling them to do? Why what we need to do in our organization is so important. Again, you have to look for those opportunities for trust through connection to build that relationship to motivate your team. And then ultimately, it's the alignment of personal and professional goals that you will achieve your organizational mission, all right? Organizational objectives. It's going to be very hard for you to have someone, I'm trying to think of a good example I could give you here. So, I don't know what it would be. Let's say if my organization's goals, one of them has to do with protecting the environment. And the environment's not one of my values. It's not something I'm interested or really care about. That's probably going to be a problem, right? So again, I say, you know that it's going to be very hard for you to have a blueprint of your personal goals that are going to be perfectly aligned with professional goals. But just as we said before, right, when we do these values, we may have personal and professional ones that are a little bit different, but again, there still needs to be some opportunity for them to align in order to achieve organizational success, okay? And again, that's a job of you as a leader, to have those conversations with your folks and to start to build that connection. And how do you use that connection then to motivate your team to achieve their organizational goals? All right, so in leadership, I often say when the audio matches the visual, we are living with integrity, where there is opportunity for trust and respect. So how many people in the room, I'm just curious, are you formal leaders within your organization? Okay. What do you think that your ability is to influence folks if you're saying that one of your core values is honesty, and they see you in the break room totally going against a position that you just made in a meeting, right? It's not lining up, right? Okay, so I say all the time, as a leader, we're constantly being watched, right? And being true to those values at all times is so critical. And, in my career, I'll say there were times where I felt as though maybe I was challenged a little bit. Maybe I was challenged by those above me or my peers or those that I supervised that sometimes made me question my intent, question my approach to leadership. And it took a lot of reflection on some of those moments to really say, no, this is who I am. If this feels right, okay, if this feels right, the things that I'm doing and the way that I'm behaving is matching my values, then I'm in alignment, okay? But have there been times for those of you in the room, as a leader, you feel you're supposed to behave a certain way, you're supposed to act a certain way? There's an unrealistic expectation, or maybe an organizational expectation, or an expectation from those that you supervise, or your peers, or those above you. Anybody? Thoughts? Have we felt like that sometimes? Right? And it's tough. It's tough to really have the courage to stand your ground and say, no, this is who I am. And again, when you're having those moments, if you're, like I said, if you're in a break room and you're totally contradicting something that you just told your team, and you believe one of your values is honesty, that should not feel too good inside, okay? We're out of alignment. So again, living your values, again, so critical as a leader. Again, as I said, your every move is being watched. And at the end of the day, living your values, practicing them, that audio matching the visual, that is going to lead to that authenticity. If we are not authentic as leaders, what is our ability then to gain trust and ultimately our ability to influence our teams, okay? So again, this is really where I was coming from with, how do we find our sense of purpose through our values? Again, this is that foundation, okay? Without knowing what our values are, being aware of them, being conscious of them, being aware of what the values are of our team, and again, building that connection, all of this opportunity is lost. All right, so a couple key takeaways. Again, our values are who we are. We heard this morning. It starts with you, okay? The identification of our values. So just in the exercise we did, we identified our values. Having that awareness, that constant awareness of those values, and asking ourselves if we are really living them. Building a connection through others by communicating them so that we have a reciprocal understanding of our values offers opportunity for development of relationships and connection. We know relationships and connections are vital to trust. And so a strong culture with shared values will lead to a sense of purpose and vision. So I hope that helped us all connect the dots a little bit on values, an opportunity to do an exercise with our team, to get to know each other, to learn their values, and again, bring that all together so that we're all working towards what our purpose is, what our vision is organizationally. So I'm going to leave you with this because, let's see, I'm almost out of time, and I know I stand between happy hour or people going home, right? A couple of recommendations I have for you. And I share these recommendations for you because really these are 5 books I will tell you that when I really was questioning my values, when I was questioning my sense of purpose as a leader, to help get me grounded again, back to my values, feeling that confidence in who I was. These are the 5 books right here. So the one in the middle, Sheryl Sandberg, Lean In. Read this a long time ago, but I still reread this one all the time. Phenomenal book for women in leadership. Start with Why, Simon Sinek. Again, back to a sense of purpose. If you don't understand your why, you are never going to be able to inspire others to understand their why. Grit, Angela Duckworth. This book, I want to talk about building resilience and perseverance when you're presented with challenges. Incredible book as well. And then the other 2 I actually saw out at the bookstore. Dare to Lead might be out, and I think I saw you have a copy of that, right? It's a good one. Braving the Wilderness, though, I know there were still some copies of that when I came by. So Brene Brown, I know our lunch speaker, she mentioned Brene Brown as one of her favorites. I had an opportunity to meet her, and cannot tell you how much both of these books have inspired me when it comes down to living your values, being authentic, being vulnerable. Again, how many times do we feel in the workplace, sometimes it's, well, that's personal, or that's, things I should leave at home, and you don't bring into the workplace, right? Got it, there's a line there, right? There's some boundaries. But again, back to that getting to know each other thing, I think one of the things I always struggled with professionally is sometimes there's this belief that everything has to be so professional and so structured all the time that you don't allow yourself to be yourself. And by not doing that, that goes back to that out of alignment, and that feels very uncomfortable, okay? So I really encourage and empower every single one of you, be true to yourself, be true to your values, be you, and you will feel your sense of purpose. That is all I have for you. Penny, any questions? Any questions? No? All right, thank you so much. Again, if you'd like copies of this worksheet, please grab them on your way out, and I hope to see you at the networking reception. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending the 2024 Empower the Leadership Conference. My name is Kimberly Filstra from ESSA Bank and Trust, and I hope you all had as wonderful a day as I have. ESSA Bank and Trust is proud to be today's networking mixer sponsor, which we now invite you to. Speaking of cocktail hour, please join us in the vendor marketplace to close out the day with some drinks and refreshments. Thank you.